The room felt too small for what was about to happen. I stood at the end of the table, staring at my three siblings. No one spoke. No one smiled. The silence felt planned. Something was wrong. Liam sat at the head, calm like always. Sophia avoided my eyes. Marcus leaned back, arms crossed, like he didn't care. Then Liam pushed a folder toward me. "You should read it," he said.
His voice was steady.
Too steady. I opened the folder. Legal papers. Contracts. My name was there, then crossed out in places that mattered. "What is this?" I asked. No one answered right away. Finally, Sophia spoke. "It's just business, Ava." My chest tightened. "Business," I repeated. Liam leaned forward. "You're no longer part of the company." The words didn't feel real. I laughed once, sharp and confused. "That's not funny." "It's not a joke," Marcus said flatly. I looked at each of them. No anger, no regret, just decision. And that's when I understood. They had already agreed. Without me. My name is Ava Monroe. I'm 22 years old. And that was the day my siblings erased me. I sat there, staring at the papers, trying to understand how everything changed so fast. "This doesn't make sense," I said. "We built this together." Liam shook his head. "You helped. But this level? You can't keep up." The words hit harder than I expected. Sophia finally looked at me. "You slow things down, Ava." Marcus added, "We need people who make tough decisions." I swallowed. "I do make decisions. Not the ones that matter," Liam said. That was it. No shouting. No fight. Just judgment. I pushed the papers away.
"So that's it?
You're just cutting me out?" "Yes," Liam said. The room went quiet again. I waited. Maybe for someone to hesitate. No one did.
"Sign it," Marcus said.
My hands shook as I picked up the pen. Not because I agreed, but because I understood something very clearly. They weren't my family anymore. I left with one bag. That's all they gave me. No money. No shares. No safety net. Just silence behind me as the door closed. I stood outside the building for a long time, not moving. People walked past like nothing had happened. But everything had. I checked my phone. No messages. Not even a fake "Are you okay?" That hurt more than the meeting. I thought about going back inside. Demanding answers. Fighting. But I knew it wouldn't matter. They had already decided who I was. And it wasn't someone worth keeping. So I walked away. Each step felt heavier than the last. Not because I was weak, but because I finally understood something I had ignored for years. I was never equal to them. Not in their eyes. And now I had nothing left to hold on to. No family. No business. No place to belong. Just one thought repeating in my head. They really threw me away. That night, I slept in a cheap room with thin walls and a broken lock. It didn't feel real. Just a few hours ago, I had an office, a team, a future. Now I had a single bag and a bed that smelled like dust. I sat on the edge of it, staring at my hands. They were still shaking, not from fear, from anger, slow, quiet anger. I thought about Liam's voice.
Calm, certain.
I thought about Sophia's eyes.
Cold.
Marcus didn't even try to hide it. They didn't just remove me. They believed I deserved it. That's what stayed with me. Not the loss. The disrespect. I lay down and stared at the ceiling. And for the first time, I stopped hoping they would regret it. Because deep down I knew they wouldn't. So instead of crying, I made a decision. I would never ask them for anything again. Not help. Not forgiveness. Nothing. If I ever walked back into their lives, it wouldn't be as their sister. The next morning felt colder. Not because of the weather. Because everything was gone. I spent hours walking, trying to figure out what to do next. Jobs didn't come easy when your entire life was tied to one place. And that place just erased you. But I wasn't useless. I knew the business. I understood how things worked. I had spent years learning, even if they never respected it. So I started small. I took a basic job. Low pay. Long hours. It didn't matter. I wasn't there to stay. I was there to rebuild. Every night I studied. I wrote things down. I remembered how my siblings handled deals, how they made decisions. And, more importantly, where they made mistakes. Because they weren't perfect. They just thought they were. And that confidence? That blind belief? That was something I could use. I wasn't ready yet. But I would be. And when I wouldn't knock on their door. I'd walk in like I owned it. I didn't go back. Not once. But that didn't mean I stopped watching. Their company was still easy to track. News, deals, public reports, they were growing fast. Faster than before. Liam was leading. Of course he was. Sophia handled clients. Marcus managed operations. From the outside, they looked perfect. But I knew better. I paid attention to the small things. The rushed decisions. The patterns in their deals. The same shortcuts they always took. They hadn't changed. They just didn't have me there to slow them down. And that was their first mistake. At night, after work, I studied everything. I wrote notes. I connected dots. Not as their sister. As someone preparing to beat them. I wasn't angry anymore. Not in a loud way. This was quieter. Colder. More focused. They thought removing me made them stronger. But all they really did was remove the only person who ever questioned them. The job I took wasn't easy. Long hours. Low respect. No second chances. But I stayed. Because I needed it. I learned how people really worked outside of comfort. How deals failed. How pressure changed decisions. No one cared about my past. No one treated me like family. And that helped. Because it forced me to adapt. Fast. I made mistakes. A lot of them. But I didn't quit. Every failure taught me something my siblings never had to learn. How to recover. How to fix problems without power. How to think ahead when no one supports you. Slowly, things started to change. People noticed my work. Not because of my name. Because of results. And for the first time in my life, that meant more. It came quietly. A small project. Low risk. Easy to ignore. But I didn't ignore it. I studied it. While others rushed, I took my time. I checked every detail. Every weakness. And when I presented my plan, it worked. Better than expected. For the first time, someone trusted my decision without questioning it. That feeling stayed with me. Not pride. Proof. Proof that I was never the problem. They were. My siblings never gave me space to grow. They just labeled me early and never changed their minds. But here, I was different. Stronger. Smarter. And more careful. That small project turned into something bigger. Then bigger again. Step by step, I started building something real. Not fast. Not loud. But solid. And this time, no one could take it from me. Months passed. Then a year. I didn't rush anything. That was the difference now. While my siblings chased fast success, I focused on control. Every connection I made mattered. Every deal I touched had purpose. I wasn't trying to be seen. I was trying to be ready. I saved money. I learned more. I stayed patient. And slowly, I started my own company. Small at first. No big announcements. No attention. Just work. Real work. The kind that grows without noise. People trusted me because I delivered results, not promises. And that trust? That was something my siblings were starting to lose. I could see it. Tiny cracks forming in their system. Clients leaving. Decisions failing. Nothing major. Yet. But I recognized the signs. Because I had seen them before. From the inside. The news didn't surprise me. One of their major deals collapsed. Publicly. It wasn't huge, but it mattered. I read every detail. Every mistake. And I saw it clearly. They rushed. Ignored risks. Trusted the wrong people. Same pattern. Different situation. I leaned back in my chair, thinking, this wasn't luck. This was weakness. And it was growing. For the first time since they cut me out, I smiled. Not because they were failing, but because I understood something important. They hadn't learned anything. Not from me. Not from their own mistakes. And that meant one thing. When I finally stepped in, they wouldn't be ready. I stopped just watching. It was time to move. Not openly. Not yet. I started small. A contact here. A quiet offer there. I reached out to people my siblings worked with, but I didn't use my name. I used results. Better terms. Smarter plans. Less risk. Some said no, but some said yes. And that was enough. Because every yes created pressure on them. They didn't see me. They just felt something changing. Deals took longer. Clients asked more questions. Trust started to weaken. And I stayed invisible. That was the key. They couldn't fight what they didn't understand. And I wasn't rushing this. I wanted it to be slow, noticeable, uncomfortable, the same way they made me feel the day they cut me out. It didn't take long. Pressure always reveals the truth. I heard about their first argument through a contact. Liam blamed Marcus. Marcus blamed Sophia. Sophia blamed both of them. No one took responsibility. That was new. Before, they moved as one. Now, they were starting to crack. I didn't interfere. Not directly. I just gave them reasons to doubt each other. A delayed deal here. A failed agreement there. Each one small. But together, they built tension. And tension turns into conflict. They still didn't know it was me. But they were feeling it. And that was enough. Because once trust breaks inside a team, it never fully comes back. I made my first direct move. Careful.
Planned.
One of their key partners was already unsure about them. I knew it. So I reached out. Not as their competitor. As a better option. I showed them numbers. Stability. Long-term value. No pressure. Just facts. They hesitated. Of course they did. My siblings still had a strong name. But a strong name doesn't fix weak decisions. A week later, they accepted my offer. Quietly. No announcement. No drama. But I knew what it meant. That wasn't just a deal. It was a shift. And once one partner leaves, others start thinking about it too. Things started speeding up. More mistakes. More pressure. My siblings weren't used to losing control. And it showed. Liam became aggressive. Marcus made rush decisions. Sophia tried to hold everything together, but it wasn't working. Their system depended on trust. And that trust was fading. I didn't need to attack harder. I just needed to let them react. Because every bad decision they made helped me. I stayed calm, focused, patient. While they pushed harder, I stayed steady. That difference was everything. They finally noticed. Not me, but the pattern. Someone was taking their deals. Someone was always one step ahead. They didn't know who, but they knew it wasn't random. And that changed everything. Because now, they were looking. They started digging into competitors, watching movements, asking questions. I expected that. That's why I stayed careful. No direct links. No obvious moves. Just clean work. Smart decisions. But I knew this moment would come. The moment they realized. This wasn't bad luck. It was strategy. And soon, they would start asking the right question. Asterisk, who is doing this to us? They were paying attention now. I could feel it. Their moves became more careful. Slower. Less confident. That told me everything. They were trying to find me. Not my name. Just the threat. I adjusted. No repeated patterns. No obvious connections. I let other deals pass on purpose, just to stay unpredictable. But even then, they were getting closer. Because the smarter they became, the more they started thinking like me. And that was dangerous. Still, I didn't stop. I just changed the pace. Slower.
Sharper.
More precise. This wasn't about speed anymore. It was about control. It finally happened. They made a mistake I could use. A rushed expansion. Poor timing. Weak research. I saw it immediately. They were trying to recover losses fast. That kind of pressure leads to bad decisions. I stepped in quietly. Not to stop it. To support it. Through indirect channels, I made sure everything moved forward. No delays. No warnings. Just smooth progress. Exactly what they wanted. Because sometimes the best move is letting someone fail faster. The project collapsed.
Hard.
Not small damage. Real damage. Money lost. Trust broken. Reputation hit. This time people noticed.
Publicly.
I watched the reports come in, calm and silent. No excitement. Just confirmation. Inside their company, things got worse. Blame turned into anger. Anger turned into distance. They stopped working together. Started protecting themselves. And that was the real damage. Because once a team stops trusting each other, it stops functioning. They found it. Not everything, but enough. A name started coming up in their searches. My company. Not linked to me, but close. Too close. I expected this moment. And I didn't hide from it. I let them look. Let them question. Let them wonder. Because now, I wanted them to know. Not fully. Not yet. But enough to feel it. That pressure. That doubt. That slow realization. This wasn't random. This was personal. It didn't take long after that. They connected the dots. The timing. The strategy. The patterns. All of it pointed to one person.
Me.
I wasn't there to see their faces. But I didn't need to be. I knew exactly how it felt. Shock first. Then denial. Then something worse. Understanding. Because deep down they knew why. They remembered that room. That meeting. That decision. And, for the first time, they understood the cost. But by then, it was already too late. Final. The first call came from Liam. I didn't answer. The second came from Sophia. Ignored. The third was Marcus. I watched it ring out. Then I received a message instead. Asterisk, we need to talk. This has gone too far. Asterisk. I stared at it for a moment. Gone too far. That was funny. Because they didn't say that when they cut me out. They didn't say that when they signed my name away. I replied with one line. You made your choice years ago. Then I put my phone down. And went back to work. Their company was unstable now. Everyone could see it. Deals were falling apart faster than they could fix them. And internally it was worse. Liam wanted control. Marcus wanted distance. Sophia wanted peace. But they wanted different things too late. They started arguing publicly. Inside meetings. Inside deals. Inside everything. The unity they once had was gone. And I stayed quiet. Because I didn't need to push anymore.
They were doing it themselves.
I just gave them the pressure. They gave me the result. They finally found a way to reach me. An official meeting request. Public setting. Neutral ground. I accepted. Not because I wanted closure, but because I wanted them to see what they created. I arrived on time. They were already there. 3 chairs. 3 faces I used to trust. Now just strangers who knew my name too late. Liam spoke first. We didn't want it to become this. I almost laughed. You already made it this, I said calmly. Sophia looked tired. We made mistakes. Marcus added, we can fix this. I shook my head slowly. No, I said. You can't. Silence. Heavy. Final. I leaned forward slightly. You didn't lose because of me, I said. You lost because you believed I was disposable. None of them spoke. I continued. You built everything together, then decided I didn't belong in it. That wasn't business. That was ego. Liam's jaw tightened. Sophia looked down. Marcus said nothing. Because there was nothing to say. The truth was already in the room. I stood up. This isn't revenge anymore, I said. It's consequence. Then I turned to leave. Behind me, I heard Liam call my name. But I didn't stop. Because they finally understood something too late. I wasn't the one they removed. I was the foundation they broke. Months later, their company was gone. Not bought. Not saved. Collapsed under its own weight. Investors moved on. Partners left. The name that once carried respect disappeared. And mine? It rose quietly. No headlines. No noise. Just results. One evening, I stood in my office looking out over the city. No anger left. No pain. Just distance. They thought they buried me. But all they did was remove the only thing holding them up. My phone stayed silent. No more messages. No more calls. Just peace. And for the first time since that meeting, I didn't feel